Gabriel Vilardi, you mentioned that he's back. He's looking good in practice, mixing it up, playing. He's still got the non-contact jersey. He is, let's just call it a week away.
Yep.
If the same players are available that are available right now to the club, and I mean, I think it's clear that it'll be Axel that'll end up in the press box. He's the guy that got called up when Rasmus Kapari got injured. Um, and Scott O'Neill said he tries not to spend too much time thinking about it because it's such a difficult decision. How do you think this looks when Vilardi re-enters the lineup? And is it different for game one that where it might be in game 3 or 4?
Oh, absolutely, Huss. His slot back in place will be on the second line. I mean, I think that barring something unforeseen with the top line, Alex Iafallo is going to stay there. That's who I'm writing about for tomorrow's piece in the Winnipeg Free Press, and that's not why he will stay there, but he's earned that spot. And as well as Vladislav Namestnikov has been playing in terms of providing great insulation for Cole Perfetti since Perfetti moved to the wing. Vladislav Namestnikov is a guy, part of being the Swiss Army knife is meaning that you have to go down and play on that fourth line on occasion. So for me, Vilardi, and Scott O'Neill told us yesterday, I mean, he provided enough breadcrumbs. Like, yes, Vilardi is an option to be the second line center at some point. It won't be in the first game back. So to me, naturally, it will be Perfetti in the middle, Vilardi on the right, Ehlers on the left, and then see how that goes for a game or two or three. You see where Vilardi's game is at. He's playing catch-up. I mean, and we talked about this last week when we brought up Ville Heinola. I mean, Gabe Vilardi's missed a significant amount of time. This is like training camp for him as well. I like what I'm seeing in terms of his conditioning. He's starting to move really well. As I mentioned, I mean, again, he didn't get rocked like a massive. I mean, it was a solid bit of contact that you weren't necessarily expecting in this morning 5-on-5 drill, but his skating legs are starting to come, Huss. He looks more confident when he has the puck on his stick. Now it's just a matter of getting his wind back to the NHL level. So for me, the reason why you slot him back on the second line initially is because it's not really fair to ask a guy who's missed 6 weeks of action to go in and play 20 to 21 minutes, which is what Scott O'Neill leans on that top line to do. So we know that there's been lots of talk about the second line's ice time. And yes, I think that if Vilardi is there, the numbers can be higher, but it's not going to be 13 minutes. But I mean, if Gabe Vilardi is playing around 15 minutes, 16 minutes in his first few games, that's good on him. That's probably perfect. And then, does he move to center? That we'll see by how Perfetti does when he's back in the middle. And then the other question would be, when do you consider flip-flopping Iafallo and Vilardi? Because let's face it, I mean, Vilardi looked great. He had the great between the legs pass on the power play to Kyle Connor, but that line only had basically 2 games in a period together, right? So it's not like you have this big body of work like we always saw with Wheeler, Scheifele, and Connor. Now, I still think ultimately Vilardi will play on that top line when things shake down. I don't know that it will come in game 3 or 4 after his return just because of how well that Iafallo has been playing. But let's not forget,
yeah, I'm with you. I don't touch that.
He's the centerpiece of the trade. With all due respect to Iafallo, who has been great, we knew that he was a versatile guy that could play anywhere. I mean, even Iafallo himself, there's no way that he looked at the equation and said, "Yeah, I'm going to Winnipeg to be on the first power play." No, he would have gone there to think, "I'm going to be on the first."
Does any of that matter?
First penalty? No. I'm just saying for him, Vilardi is still the centerpiece of the trade, and this is Huss. I just think it's an example of recency bias. Iafallo is playing great, but Gabriel Vilardi, not long ago, we were talking about him being a 30-plus goal scorer and single-handedly, replacing the offense that went out the door when Pierre-Luc Dubois went to the LA Kings. So
the funny thing about that is that Iafallo's done that.
Right.
This is a great situation for the team to be in.
For sure. But some of that is related to opportunity provided by Vilardi being out. So now that's not to say that he doesn't deserve it. He is deserving. That's why he's got those opportunities. But I mean, here's a guy who's not us. One of the answers to the Jets penalty killing woes is Alex Iafallo. But right now, because he's on the top power play unit and he helped get them going, Scott O'Neill can't take him off the top power play unit until Gabriel Vilardi's back. And even then, he may not do it right away either, because he's been so helpful in some of those regards. So I just think that it augments it even further when Vilardi is there. And even as well as Iafallo's playing, I'm just saying, let's not sleep on Gabriel Vilardi here. Like, this is a legit 20 to 30 goal scoring guy. And when he's in the lineup, he will deserve to play top 6 minutes. Now, where those top 6 minutes are going to be is going to be up to him and ultimately up to Scott Arniel.
Is it an automatic that in game 1 he's in the top 6?
Yes,
with the way
Scott
the lines
Arniel told
are
us there
going
yesterday, Huss. I mean,
Yeah.
he said it flat out. This is a top 6 player. So, I mean, yes, the Jets are doing a better job of finding their fourth line ice time, but no, I mean, even though, and that's why I tweeted it the way that I did. Yes, today Gabriel Vilardi slots in with the fourth line guys, but that's only because there's a game tomorrow, and those top 6 guys need their reps with the guys who they're going to be playing with. It wasn't a hint or a breadcrumb that Scott Arniel actually, even though he told us he's a top 6 player, that he might consider him on the fourth. Like, to me, you'd rather let him wait another 3-4 days and put him right into the top 6. And again, this is why I'm saying that second line generally plays 14 to 16 minutes, not 21, which is why you slot him in with Perfetti and Ehlers right out of the gate. And, even though Gabriel is a guy who is defensively responsible, if you have to go to Vladislav Nemesnikov because something to do with the lungs or how the game is going, that's a great weapon to have in your toolkit, right? So, don't worry. I get Gabriel Vilardi's moving well. It's just a matter of him getting his lungs back.
Let me ask you this, just based on something you said before. If he's moving in and Nemesnikov's moving out, why? And the way Cole Perfetti has been playing on the wing, why would you move Cole back to center and put Vilardi on the wing as opposed to just trying to literally swap Vilardi and Nemesnikov in game number 1 and keep Ehlers and Perfetti doing what they've been doing on the wings because they've been so successful?
Yeah, I mean, Cole's already taking some of the draws, and I mean, Huss, it's almost like positionless hockey is sort of an overused term, but literally, third guy high is going to be the first forward back. So that guy's already handling the down low responsibilities, and Cole has already done that in the games already. And Huss, to me, this is less about how Cole was unable to handle the job and more about like all the pieces of the line are clicking. I'm not blaming Nikolai Ehlers for the first 4 games, but Huss, let's not kid ourselves. Nikolai Ehlers was not Nikolai Ehlers in those first 4 games. So to me, I don't even know that it was as much about Perfetti not being able to handle the responsibility as it was that line wasn't really clicking. So as a result, they made a move that obviously is made to ease the pressure on Perfetti. Now, could you put Vilardi there? Yes, you could, Huss, but now let's just put it this way. It would be easier for Cole to slide back into the center position. And again, Vilardi will take draws on his strong side in those games anyway. But for a guy coming back after missing 6 weeks, it's easier to bring him back on the wing than at center. That's the best way I can boil it down to you, even though he will have some of those responsibilities. And Huss, I've used the word insulation when it comes to Vladislav Nemesnikov. Vilardi's conscientiousness defensively will allow him to provide this almost the same level of insulation as Nemesnikov already is right now. So I don't think there's it's not a huge ask for Perfetti to move back to the middle, nor does it mean that he is going to be playing center on a full-time basis in that regard.
I got you. Well, okay, let's dig into a bit more of Iafallo because he has been a guy that has done so much in so many ways and has seemed to be, in a lot of ways, a perfect complement to Scheifele and Connor. And I think that the numbers and the success of the team speak to that. The beginning of the year, they were looking at him playing on that third line.
Yep.
Has this time with Connor and Scheifele established him as a top 6 player? Like, does he stay there going forward, or are we again, this goes back to if he's playing on the third line, then you're mixing up the Lowry line, which has been so great since Appleton and Niederreiter became the regular lines. Like, what do you make Iafallo's position with Vilardi coming in, not necessarily for game number 1, but 2-3 weeks in the future?
Yeah, sure, Husson. I mean, I would say, he's still playing a top 6 role, but I would still put him into the complementary player section, if you will. He's more of a middle 6 player than a top 6 player, but he is a guy that can definitely plug in on the top line and do an excellent job because of his motor, because of his tenacity, his ability to disrupt on the forecheck. And he's got sneaky good skill, which is another thing that, it kind of caught me off guard, in my conversations with guys like Dominic Toninato and Neil Pionk, who played with him at the University of Minnesota Duluth. like Neil flat out said he was their best player. And I knew that he had solid college numbers, but his offensive ability is something that is sort of shown up here, that we knew he was a, mid-teens kind of goal scorer. But I told you this early in camp, Huss. I think Alex Iafallo can be a 20-goal guy. And I don't think that's a stretch by any means. And he's also a good passer. He does a lot of the dirty work. He does a lot of the hard work, the things that don't necessarily end up in the box score, traditional statistics. So he's a complimentary player, but he can help drive a line. He's not the play driver on that line, obviously, based on how well Mark and Kyle are playing, but he's not just a tag along for the ride kind of guy. He helps make those guys go because he's got such a high motor, and he's actually pretty skilled as well, and wins board battles and finds retrievals of the puck and things of that nature. So that's my long-winded way of saying that I'm not. It's sample size. It's still it's 14 games. So I'm not here to say he can't play on the top line for the rest of the year, but I also don't think it's fair to just say that line can't survive without him, or that he can't give a similar result on another line. And Adam Lowry said to me this morning as well, he said he felt that in the game before Iafallo got the bump up and Appleton came back down, he thought that he was starting to click with Alex Iafallo and that they could be providing, similar type of impact if he was on that line as well. So, as you know, I said it on the show and was, politely ripped for it by my colleague in Sean Reynolds. I'm still not convinced that Nino Niederreiter is not going to play some top 6 minutes either. And whether that means it's Iafallo going down or somebody else, things happen over the course of the year. And would a coach love to have his 3 lines or 4 lines settled the whole year? Of course he would, but that's just not the way that it works. So I do expect Alex Iafallo to play some with Adam Lowry, and I do expect him to play some with Cole Perfetti because of his skill set is transferable to any line that he plays on. Now he's making a big impact with 2 skilled guys right now. And I think that he has the skill set that can help Nikolai Ehlers and Cole Perfetti as well at some point if Vilardi goes back up. And I think that if Niederreiter goes up to provide a physical presence with Perfetti and Ehlers and some additional scoring, I think Iafallo could be a great fit on the line with Lowry and Appleton as well. Now, before people in the chat room are going wild, and I'm sure they already are, I'm not here to advocate that the Jets tear down all 3 of those lines. That would be lunacy based on, a team that has picked up points in 11 of 13 games. That's not what I'm here to say. What I am here to say, Huss, is that because of the skill set Iafallo brings to the table, and similarly Niederreiter and Vilardi, I think that any combination that you roll out within that top 9 is going to be able to have sustainable success. And that's why I think that's the beauty of guys like Iafallo and Vilardi in this trade. And I know that Kupari hasn't popped offensively yet. He's still provided that depth layer and element that has been helpful for the Jets. And Kupari's a guy that could move up and down the lineup if he needs to down the road. But for me, Iafallo has been a great fit. And Huss, here's the other part about Iafallo. He streams Winnipeg. The guy is out sleeping in a tent. He's out fishing. He's out hunting. He's out. Everyone was saying when Iafallo got here, oh, this guy's a surfer. There's no ocean. He's going to be miserable here. That could not be further from the truth. The guy absolutely loves being on the prairies in Manitoba. And that's a huge boost for the Jets when it comes to trying to lock the guy down beyond this year, right? He has this year and next, but I can see Iafallo, before he got here, I'm not sure the Jets would have been confident they could sign Alex Iafallo beyond this current contract. And now, based on the opportunity he's received and how much he's enjoyed the community, I could easily see him wanting to lock down beyond next season.
Well, and listen, all the stuff outside the team and, enjoying, getting out and fishing in the winter and stuff, that's all great and a big positive, and that's good. but nothing's comparing to finding a home with Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor on that top line with what he's been able to do so far. I guess my one question is, if you go back with Vilardi up front and you move Iafallo down, and this is the question that I still don't think we've had the answer, is can Cole Perfetti run as the number 2 center long term going forward? You seem to be pretty bullish on that.
Yeah, I mean, I also, I think that Vilardi could easily be at center on that line by game 3 if it's not going as well. I just don't think that it was a big enough sample.
Iafallo doesn't play center. So
sorry.
I
understand that then for sure.
And Niederreiter for 2 for that matter.
It's up to Cole to show that he can do that for sure. I just don't think that the 4-game window was a wide enough lens to say he can't do it. And like I said, if Ehlers had come out of training camp having played 4 of the games and hadn't been hurt, and they were struggling defensively, then sure, we could say that was not a great start. Like I think the underlying numbers even show that line wasn't as bad as we thought they were in the early going. They just had a couple of plays that didn't convert it. You and I talked about it at the time and since. Niederreiter puts in one of those 2 empty nets against Markstrom. Cole Perfetti may have stayed at center for the first 10 games instead of 4. So I'm not saying it was a panic move by the Jets, and it has been one that's worked out very well for them. But, until they get another guy into the system, I still do think it is their intention to have Cole Perfetti slide into that job, whether it's this year or down the road. And I think, the best news for Cole is that the Jets have been playing well, and, the audition could easily continue quickly here. But I mean, hey, if they don't want to mess with it, that's fine. But it's not going to be Vilardi going down, and it's not going to be Ehlers going down. So, I mean, it seems pretty simple that would be the move that makes the most sense. And Huss, we've seen it in the last few games. Nemesnikov isn't even taking a lot of the draws. Like the one night Perfetti had 6 of the draws himself already, I think. So I just think that there's a little more runway required. And hey, I know people in the chat rooms in your place and ours are already wondering about February and March. And should the Jets be in on Elias Lindholm, right? I mean, I'm not saying that they will be, but I mean, that's the other reason why I think the Jets would be smart to try Perfetti right away when Vilardi is back, because you've got several months here to determine or to dictate the path that you want to be on. Like, let's not kid ourselves, Huss. The Jets are going to be buyers this year at the deadline. They already augmented nicely and better than we thought at the time with Nemesnikov and Niederreiter last time around. So for sure, the Jets are going to be looking probably for a D-man, and then we'll see if they need another forward that's bigger than a depth piece. But part of finding that answer out is giving Perfetti a longer run at center. And I think that time is coming sooner than later.